Listen, everybody, great to rejoin you again. Listen, Dean wanted to give you one, more shot. His whole mindset, and I really love this about him, is we don't want anybody left behind. So I wanted to drop by and just give you a little insight that might help you push yourself over the edge in anything you're trying to get yourself to do. We can make ourselves, whether we do something or not, is based not on our ability. It's really based on our level of reasons or drive. In other words, whether you can change, whether you can make things happen, there's no question. We got people in every walk of life who started with nothing, who didn't believe in themselves, who are now running successful businesses because they've gone through the course and they've done it a step at a time. But before you do the course, it's like it can seem overwhelming. It's like so much. But you're going to go through this course, Project Next, and you can do it like, okay, I'm going to do one, session a day. I'm going to take one session. I'm going to focus on that session, do it once a day. And over a couple of weeks, I'm going to have the whole thing done. It'll be so easy. Or some of you are more immersion. Let me do this all in one weekend. I'm going to do it all day, all night for 3 days or 4 days or whatever the case may be. I want you to know the way you attack things often determines whether you do it or not. And it has to do with how we group things in our mind, how we chunk them. If there was a whale that washed up and you were starving and you needed to eat the whale and you try to eat in one bite an entire whale, it's overwhelming. If you chop it into 8 billion pieces, it's overwhelming. There's like a certain size that your mind can get your head around to be able to consume that whale or take on that business or turn your life around or whatever the case may be. And so I'll give you an example. I'll say to somebody, hey, you told me you want to lose weight. Are you working out? Well, that's really hard. Well, why? Well, there's so much, just so much. I'm so busy. There's so much to do. I said, do me a favor just for a second. Walk me through what it takes for you to go work out. And the person will say, well, first of all, I got to drive to the gym, and then I got to check in and get my ticket. I got to find a parking space, and then I got to go in, and then I got to check it. Got to have your ID and stuff, and you got to go through that little section, and then you got to get your locker, and then open my locker, and I put my clothes on there, and I hope that they don't fall down, but they usually do, and will get wrinkled. And then I close and lock my locker, and then I go to the first, machine. I do the first thing, and then I do the second machine, and then the fourth, and the fifth, and then I go back, and then I take, I go do a sauna, and and then, I come in, and I have to shower after that, and I have to fix my hair and makeup again, and then I got to take and put my clothes on, and then I got to find my car and drive home. It's just so much. Well, want to eat? Sure. What do we got to do? We'll just eat. Eating is one step. Working out is 37,000 steps. So I want you to think about, when you think about doing your business, until you've gone through Project Next, you might feel a little overwhelmed. But if you say, okay, I'm going to do this once a week or once a day or on a weekend, and I'm going to do it a little step at a time, and you just take each step one step at a time, you just focus on that instead of everything at once. Pretty soon, having a business will be like working out, will be like eating. It'll be that simple. You don't say, oh, I got to find the restaurant, and I got to sit down and find the parking space, and I got to look through the menu, and then I got to pick for the person, and I got to wait in line to be seated, and then I got to wait for the food to come, and I got to decide which fork to use. You don't do that. And that's why eating's easy. It's the way you're grouping it in your mind. Does that make sense? So a lot of times, let me show you what I mean. A lot of times, if people are, I was talking to some of the people in VIP on Friday, and I was saying, the biggest mistake a lot of us ask ourselves is, what do we got to do? And so you see, we got to do, well, I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do this thing and that thing, and I do this, and I got to do that, and I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to do this. It's overwhelming. But if you looked at all these things you need to do, you start to relate to them. Like, all these things relate. What if these 5 things all related to understanding who your ideal client was? And all these actions all relate towards designing your course. And all of these 3 are all related to how we're going to market it and put it online for you. And you go, oh, there's 3 things I need to do, not 37. You follow me on this? So I'll give you an example. If you're trying to achieve something, I have a friend named Pat Riley, and he's one of the greatest basketball coaches of all time. He owns a piece of the Miami Heat. And I met him way back when he was with the Lakers, and then when he was with New York, the Knicks, and then he came down to Miami. And he's got all of these, championship rings, more than almost anybody alive. Very few people have more. And I remember at one point when he was taking over coaching the Lakers, when I was just 24, 25 years old, and he was talking about how he really pushed these guys. And it's, we had Magic Johnson, if you know anything about basketball, and Kareem, all these guys. And he had this hard time. He pushed them like crazy because he grew up pushed by his father. He pushed them harder than ever been pushed so they'd be well prepared so they could really crush it. And they went to the championship game and they lost. And you know, when you give everything and you lose, there's a part of you that just feels so empty. And so the next year is trying to get these players going again. And he's like, we got to get 20% better. If we're going to achieve this, get 20% better. Well, he'd worked them so hard the year before that when he started saying 20% better for the first time, you got players kind of pushing back or like, you know, saying bullshit. You know, they're going to get 20% better. And he got really frustrated. So we were having this conversation one day trying to figure the right strategy. And I said, you know, what if you went to these guys and apologized? He said, apologized? I said, yeah. What if you said, look, guys, it was stupid of me. You've worked your guts out last year. You got right this close to the championship and we lost. It was devastating. It was painful. For me to come along and say, you got to work 20% harder all year long to get there. I mean, that's absurd. I said, you know, let's just give our best and see how it works out. And we'll just go from there. And he looked at me and goes, they'll never respond to that. I said, that's my point. They're going to say, champion's going to go, what do you mean we're not going to set any goals? We're not going to have anything to do. You know, 20% seems crazy, but you know, we're not going to do anything. And so let them push back on you. Well, we got to set some goals. We got to get clear how we're going to improve. And I said, then you make it simpler. If you come back to them and say, well, all right, if you really want to do something, why don't we just work on being like 1% better? Like 1% better in 5 areas of the game, like 1% better each of us on, let's say, you know, free throws, and 1% better on defense, and 1% better on lowering our turnovers. And you know what, just work on 1% better. And what happened was, guys, anybody who's an achiever is like 1% better. That's bullshit. I'm going to do 10% better, right? And that's what most of them in their head were doing. Well, instead of saying 20% is absurd, they're saying, I'm not going to do less than 10%. And by 1% better, each player getting 5% better, and there's 11 players on the team, but only 5 on the court. Well, that's 5 times 5%. That's 25% better. It's more than 20% better. But it's not overwhelming their minds. Do you follow me? You've got to learn to play the game in your mind. And when you go through Project Next, we're going to show you do that a step at a time so it's not so overwhelming. You're not trying to eat the whole thing. You're not trying to get 20% better. Even in your business, let me give you a little clue. And you don't have to understand this in detail right now because I'm going to teach this in the course to you. But let me just plant a seed with you. Like, you know, most people are trying to think, how do I get a few clients? How am I going to grow my business? And if you had a business and you had like, you know, 100 clients and you say, I want to grow that business 30%, that's another 30 clients that you got to get. That seems like a lot if you don't have a lot of clients. Or if you had 1,000 clients, you'd have to get 30% more, 1,333 more clients to grow the business 30%. But you know what you're going to learn is there are lots of ways to skin this cat. And it doesn't take Herculean efforts. It's just little improvements like those 1% that can do it. In fact, I interviewed a man named Jay Abraham years ago. Jay's a marketing genius. He and I have been friends. I think I interviewed him almost 35 years ago. We're still friends today. He is a marketing genius because for 50 years, he's worked in all these different industries and shown companies how to create breakthroughs. And he studies what different industries do, and he learns this industry does this. Well, realtors don't do that. What if we had realtors do this thing that these other people do, and the realtors get better? So one day I did this like 2-hour interview with him, and he had so many tools to help you grow your business. And I knew the audience was loving it, but I also knew they were getting overwhelmed. Have you ever been there? Like, oh, there's so much here. I don't know where to start. So start with the first thing. Let's start by making it easier. Let's start by chunking it into just a couple things you're doing, not 37 things you're doing. And your brain will start to get around it easier and make it work. So I said to him at one point, you know, most people get overwhelmed and you're a genius in what you're doing. And I said, but I have this belief that almost everything can be grouped into 3 steps, you know, because most people's brains go 1, 2, 3, many, right? So what if there are only 3 ways to grow a business? I'm going to challenge you right now to take all of your knowledge, all of your skill, all your background and say, if there are only 3 ways to grow any business, what would the 3 ways be? And Jay's a real thinker. And he goes, wow, that is a great challenge. That is a great question. And we finally had to turn the audio off because he was really thinking for a while. And he goes, I got it. Turn it on. And I learned something that I've used for my life forever. And again, you don't have to understand these numbers exactly because some of you haven't even come up with what your business is yet. But I just want to give you a feel about how we, in our head, get in the way of progress by making things bigger than they really are when we can simplify it. He said, Tony, there's only 3 ways to grow a business. I'm going to throw them on the screen for you here. Number 1, if you're going to grow a business, you need to get more customers. That's obvious. So once you come up with your course and we know what it is you want to do, we want to get some customers. And if you want to grow the business, you got to get more customers. Now, if you want to grow your business 33%, that's a giant growth for most businesses. Well, if you had 100 customers, you have to get 33 more, like I said. If you had 1,000, you'd have to get 333 more to get 30% more customers to grow your business 30%. Does that make sense? You don't have to do the numbers perfectly to understand generally what I'm saying. If you wanted to grow your business 100% and you had 100 customers, you have to get 200 customers. Make sense? But he said, Tony, getting new customers is only one step. I'm going to show you how to grow your business 33% by never getting more than 10% more customers. So if you had 100 customers, you only have to get 10 more. If you had 10 customers, you only have to get one more customer to grow your business 33%. I said, how do you do that? He goes, you go to step 2. Step 2 is you get 10% more customers, but then you get them to spend 10% more money when they do buy from you. He said you get 10% more money by including another choice, like they get 2 courses for the price of 1 plus $10, or you can have it be a shipping and handling fee for $10, or you can just raise your price $10. He goes, if you get someone to spend just $10 more and you got 10% more clients, these things compound. And then the third step is get your client to buy 10% more often. So if you had 100 customers, get 10 of them to buy a second time, buy a second product. If you had 10 clients, you get 1 to buy 1 more time. That's 10% more. And when you do this, you'll grow your business 33%. So if I were to show you an example, I'll show you a simplistic example. The numbers can get much bigger, but let's use real small numbers. Let's say you had 100 customers. And let's say they spend $100 for whatever it is you're selling, your course. And let's say right now they buy twice a year. Well, 100 customers who spend $100 twice a year is a $20,000 a year business. Now, if you had 1,000 customers and they were spending $1,000 and did the same thing, you have a $200,000 business. But let's just keep it the numbers simple. You can always add zeros. If you just do 10, 10, 10, and you said, instead of saying, I got to get 33 more customers, I just got to get 10 more customers. Instead of 100 customers, I need 110. And instead of spending $100, it's $110. I just find something that adds value to them that's worth $10 more on average. And then they buy, instead of twice a year, 2.2 times a year. That business goes from a $20,000 a year business to a $26,000 a year business. That's a 33.1% increase. Well, what if you just found a way to get 20% more customers? You had 100, now you get 120. 20 more. You got 10, you get 12. If you're spending $100, you're going to spend 120. If they're buying twice a year, they buy 2.4 times a year. Now you have a $34,000 a year business, and all you got to do is get 10% more customers, spend 10% a little more, and either buy 10% more often or give you 10% referrals. Now, I can go through some more detail on will in the course when it's simpler. I ran through this real fast, but my larger point is really simple. Little 1% changes, little 10% changes can make giant changes in your business. But first, what you got to do is slow it down and go, you know what? I'm going to go through this course, and I'm going to go through these chunks. There's lots to learn, but each of these will relate to one major thing I'm going to do. And there might be 5 or 6 things you're going to need to do to go from no course to having your own course online, being able to help people, being able to enjoy people, being able to learn, being able to earn, and having some freedom, not only financially, but some freedom emotionally by saying, wow, I got a new business and I can keep building, I keep growing it. And I don't have to make giant strides. You've heard me say this before, I hope. Most people overestimate what they'll do in a year. And they underestimate what they can do in a decade, meaning these little improvements. I've been doing this, what I'm involved with now, for 45 years. So, I mean, I remember in the beginning, I didn't come close to my goals, but now it's light years from where I was because there's this growth that happens with small improvements, small changes. So my message to you is really simple. Look, this is your last chance to really go forward. You know, you got to make a decision. If you don't decide, that's a decision too, right? But it's like, if you look at your life and say, what makes my life work? It's learning to train myself to think and behave and act differently. You need some skills, not just for your business. You need some skills to make your mind and your emotions get you to follow through. And Project Next has them both, because if we would just give you the skills, you'd say, wow, this is really exciting, but I wouldn't know where to start. So if I overwhelmed you a little bit here by going 3 ways to grow your business before you know what it is, just know that the theme I'm trying to get across to you is You don't have to take these giant risks, and you don't have to spend tons of money, and you don't have to like try and do Herculean effort. You can make these 1% changes, these little 10% changes after we show you what to do. And pretty soon you're going to start to build something that's really exciting. Something that could be $20,000 or $200,000 or $1 million or more, depending on what size business you have, what size business you want to build. But it comes down in the end to making some decisions where you say, I don't know how to do this, but I want to learn. I was too quick, Tony, right there. But that's why we do this in a course. So we can slow it down, not jam it to you really fast. And you can listen to it and you can re-listen to it. You know, when I would listen to Jim Rohn, my original teacher, I spent $300 for 6 cassette tapes and 6 workbooks. That's what it used to cost then. You couldn't go on YouTube and listen to somebody for free because I invested so much in it. I was going to get everything out of it. And Jim Rohn used to say, repetition is the mother of mastery. Repetition is the mother of skill. If you're going to get something, you got to repeat it. So I would listen to these audios over and over and over again. And I listened to them because I could do it when I was driving in my car. I could do it when I was working out. I could do it when I was cleaning the house. And once you have this course in your hands, you can do the same thing. You'll go through it initially, and then you'll want to repeat it. And what's going to happen, it's going to start sinking in. And at each stage, you'll just do step 1. You don't have to know all the steps. Then just do step 2, step 3, and before you know it, you're going to have yourself a new, meaningful, powerful business that allows you to touch people's lives and earn money too. And so it all comes down to decisions, guys. So I hope today you'll make the decision to join us and really go on this project next. This next project for your life that can open it all up. And I'll tell you, whenever I've had to make a difficult decision, I use this deep scientific technique. It's not scientific at all. I call it the rocking chair test. I remember when I had the chance, I flew a helicopter one time, and it was an amazing experience. I would have been bumper to bumper traffic and missed the flight. And I was able to get a helicopter, and what would have been a 45-minute drive and be late to the airport got me there in 7 minutes. We flew over the top of everybody, and I was like, oh my God, I got to learn to do this. This is like unbelievable. I want to learn to fly a helicopter. I want the freedom of this. But, you know, I got all excited about it, and then what happens? You know, you get home, you're busy with all your other work and all your calls, and then it costs too much, and you don't have the time. And your mind, when you don't do things while you're in a peak state, while you're there, while you're right there in it, when you know something's valuable, you got to act on it. It's like that movie I told you about. It's like you only need 10 seconds of courage. Commit yourself, and then you'll follow through and make it happen. And I remember I was like, well, am I going to do this or not? And so one day I said, you know, I'm going to do a little rocking chair test. I'm going to imagine I'm in a rocking chair. I'm 90 years old. I've lived this incredible life. And in one of those versions, I never learned to fly a helicopter. I always sat on the ground, bumper to bumper traffic with everybody else. And I just fully envisioned that life. And then the other one, I learned to fly and took the doors off and take my family and friends and go over where we want and lift off and land where we want to go. And I just saw all the results of a lifetime of that. And it's like, you know, which life do I want? It's pretty obvious. So maybe do a little rocking chair test. What would life be like if you don't master these skills? If you say, well, this was really nice, and you just let the 5 days be over as like, okay, that's it. You know, I'm going to give it a roll. It's not going to give you what you want. And if you went this far and you're actually listening to us today still and you came back, you obviously want more. Now, maybe you already got the course and you want more. That's fantastic. But if you don't have it, now's the time. Do your rocking chair test. Do what's right for you. But I can promise you, you're about to enter an environment where you're going to grow and where you're going to develop some nice friendships with people all over the world, and you're going to develop some skills. And 2, 3, 4 years from now, you'll be light years from where you are today. But the only way you get there is make that investment in yourself. Because when inflation's going crazy, as I said the other day, you know, you ask Warren Buffett, what does he say? His most important investment's in yourself. Invest in your skills. Take it a step at a time. Start to get overwhelmed. Say, no, I'm just going to do a step at a time. And before you know it, you'll be where you really want to be. So I hope this 1%, 10% idea, even if you don't get the numbers yet, I understand that. I hope you get the principle, because the principle is how to do less and get more results by understanding this idea of chunking or compounding. I hope that's helpful to you guys. And I hope we'll get to see you. We get to hear the stories of your results over the next year, year and a half, 2 years, or 3 years as you start to build this. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Dean. Thanks for having me again. God bless to everybody. We'll see you soon.